Good morning, you listen to FloorDaily.net, and I'm Kemp Harr. I'm in Phoenix at the Tile Solutions Plus meeting, and I'm with Rick Church, the Executive Director of the Ceramic Tile Distributors Association. Rick, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Kemp. Thanks for being here.
It's been a few years since we've talked in a podcast, and I thought it'd be good to tell the listeners a little bit of the history of what this meeting is. It used to be called Total Solutions Plus. You changed the name. Give us a little of the history.
Yeah, this is the 16th. We're going to call it Tile Solutions Plus now, but it was created because several industry organizations had their own meetings. And so every year, the contractors were going to their meeting along with manufacturers. The distributors were going to their meeting along with manufacturers. And the industry said, hey, we're all friends. Let's get together and do this all together. And so 16 years ago, we had our first TSP. Been great ever since. I think we started 16 years ago with probably a couple hundred attendees, and our peak right before COVID was about 700. We're on the upswing again in post-COVID times, and we're going to have about 550 or so here in Phoenix.
Okay. And how did you end up being the guy running them?
Great question. I mean, I think I drew the short straw at the first meeting, Kemp, but we do a lot of industry events, and the associations said, hey, you guys do this well, and we'd rather not kind of focus our staff on the meeting planning part. We'll contribute as we can, but would you guys mind doing the meeting planning? And we said, sure, why not?
And you have a sister, CJ, and she does a great job of kind of hosting everybody, right?
Thank you. She does do a great job, and I appreciate you putting in a big plug for her. CJ, you probably also know, is the executive director of the FCICA.
Okay. Give us a couple of the highlights of this meeting this year.
Sure. Well, I thought we had a really great opening keynote speaker. He really was engaging, and his topic was how to drive business to your website, and not just the kind of thing that's visitors, but actually create business opportunities, people that want to get quotes, for example. And it's all about, he's focused on how AI can help them with that. And I thought he was tremendous. I saw lots of people taking notes that you don't always see with a keynote speaker. And he offered 50 free books to folks, and he put them in the back of the room. When he finished his speech, he said, I've got 50 free books for the first 50 people. I was practically run over by 50 people running to get those books. So I thought he did a great job. That's one of the highlights. It's always good to have a great keynote speaker. But the conference is also not just about a great keynote speaker. It's about collaborating with your industry partners. And so some of the events, the networking events that we've had, whether it's a reception or here right now, we're at the tabletop event where I think we'll have 550 people walking through and meeting with and talking with their suppliers. And I think that's a really great opportunity as well.
And you don't have to incentivize them. We just walked outside to where we could give this interview, but there's a lot of people walking around, and it's just because they make their living here and they're curious what's the latest offering from these companies, right?
Absolutely right. And I think at TSP, it's also a little bit different than a typical trade show. We're not trying to be coverings, for example. This is really more about networking and relationship building between business owners and people that run their businesses, right? The kind of leaders of the industry. And that's what TSP has really always been, is it's kind of a leadership conference.
So Eric Astrachan was talking from the stage when he was given the Man of the Year Ring Award. Remind me his name, is the guy from California?
Martin Brooks, who's with Fire Clay Tile, got the NTCA Ring of Honor Award today. And then following that presentation, Eric got on the stage to talk about the Tile Heritage Foundation and kind of its renewed purpose, an effort that's happening here starting today in the industry to create some substantial funding for that organization to help it meet its mission, which ultimately is about growing the tile industry. It's interesting the way it happens, though, right? None of us have the kind of museum quality collection that Tile Heritage Foundation has, or the history, which is really important when you talk about people getting passionate about tile and wanting to make tile a big part of this, the United States for use.
So what they're going to do is raise money and actually build a museum near the TCA's headquarters near Clemson, South Carolina. And the Heritage Association has all these records of tiles that go back several hundred years, right?
That's right. And not just records, but actually also tiles that have been produced for the last almost 200 years here in the United States, as well as pictures, digital images of beautiful installations that have been made here in the United States. And one of the things that I thought was pretty exciting about what Eric mentioned is they want to create a registry of tile installations. So imagine being a NTCA 5-star contractor or a TCAA contractor, and you do some beautiful installation at an airport or at a Marriott or whatever, and you can get that registered through the Tile Heritage Foundation. Put a big brass plaque up and whatnot. I think it's kind of neat.
All right, so Eric was also talking about the business, which is a little soft this year, as no surprise to anybody. And I thought it was interesting, he says that we're at 2014 levels on consumption.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And of course, I represent the distributors. So, this year there are kind of a number of factors that I think have contributed to it. First of all, from our standpoint, tariffs have been a big deal. And that's still there are some uncertainties about it. I think next week we'll learn more about what the Supreme Court thinks about the tariffs. But I would say distributors have been telling us since the beginning of the year the uncertainty of the tariffs and then the changing of the tariffs multiple times has really put a damper on the market. That's not the entire thing, obviously. I mean, there's some economic conditions that have contributed as well, but it's been a challenging year.
It's been, and I'm glad you brought up the Supreme Court. Actually, they're going to discuss this on November the 5th.
Correct.
And there's a lot of people that think that they may say this reciprocal tariff is deemed illegal. So that would certainly change a few things, wouldn't it?
It would for sure, yeah. I'll be interested to see what they come up with.
All right, Rick, it's great to be with you. Thanks for again telling our listeners a little bit about what this whole Tile Solutions Plus meeting is here in Phoenix. Been talking to Rick Church, and you've been listening to Kemp Harr and FloorDaily.net.